Hey biology, so today you're going to go over basically 9.3 notes. In this we're going to go ahead and talk about or basically summarize what happens in cellular respiration and then go a little bit further. So what is the big picture? You have to know the 3 different steps for cellular respiration. So if you don't have a picture that looks like this in your notes, I would get this down. It helps just describe where each of these cycles happen, what is made from that, and so forth. So we know that to start out cellular respiration, we need a glucose molecule. That glucose is then split into 2 pyruvic acid molecules in glycolysis. So then we go into the mitochondria to go through the Krebs cycle, which makes, again, ATP, NADH, and FADH2 that is then used in the electron transport. So again, cellular respiration includes glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. So glycolysis happens in the cytoplasm outside of the mitochondria. It breaks down 1 glucose molecule into pyruvic acid molecules. And that then produces 2 net ATP, because remember, you have to spend a little bit to make more, and 2 NADH. Don't worry as much about that, how many NADH it produces. You will need to know how much ATP is produced though, because that's your energy containing molecules. In the Krebs cycle happens in the matrix, which is inside the mitochondria. It breaks down the 2 pyruvic acid molecules to make 2 ATPs. So remember, for every 1 pyruvic acid molecule, it'll go through the cycle to make 1 ATP. So because we have 2 pyruvic acid molecules, there's 2. We make carbon dioxide, specifically 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 8 NADH, and 2 FADH2. Now again, the NADH and the FADH2, I don't care if you know how much is made, however, you have to know that these are made in the Krebs cycle. And the reason why we have to know they're made in the Krebs cycle is because they are needed, absolutely needed, for the electron transport chain. So electron transport chain, enzymes found in the cristae, the inner membrane of the mitochondria. They use the high energy electrons and hydrogen ions donated by NADH and FADH2 to make 32 net ATP. So this is where we get most of our energy from. Oxygen then acts as your final electron acceptor to then produce H2O. So again, this is just a breakdown of how much ATP is made in each cycle. You can see that glucose, for 1 glucose molecule, we have to spend 2 ATP to get a total of 4 ATP out of it. So you're making a net gain of 2 ATP and 2 NADH. That pyruvic acid then goes into the Krebs cycle, and when it goes into the Krebs cycle, we produce a net gain of 2 ATP, and then in the electron transport, we produce the 32 other ATP to make a total of 36 ATP. So cellular respiration, this is the aerobic process with oxygen. 1 glucose is going to make 36 ATP. In fermentation, which is anaerobic, meaning without oxygen, so if you remember, an is a prefix meaning not. Okay, so oxygen's not present. You only get 2 ATP. So overall, cellular respiration is more efficient than fermentation, and that's why our bodies go through it. So if you remember, carbohydrates supply us with energy, so that's why we particularly talk about glucose for our energy needs. So exercise and energy. So for short-term memory, or not memory, energy, cells normally contain small amounts of ATP produced by glycolysis in cellular respiration, but that's only enough for seconds of activity. Once that ATP is used up, lactic acid fermentation can provide enough ATP to last for about 90 seconds. So any short, quick sprints, you're using that small amount of ATP, and then you're going to go through lactic acid fermentation. Once a race is over, that lactic acid must be broken down using oxygen. So well-trained athletes burn lactic acid more efficiently because their bodies are used to building up that acid. So long-term energy. So for exercises longer than 90 seconds, cellular respiration is the only way to make enough ATP. So cellular respiration releases energy more slowly than fermentation. So well-conditioned athletes must pace themselves during a long race so that they can build up enough ATP and they don't go through lactic acid fermentation. So what happens in a long race when the body's glucose is all used up? Well, animal cells store glucose as glycogen to use for later. So glycogen is basically just a bunch of glucose molecules all put together. Muscles store glucose as glycogen, which then can be broken down into glucose to supply energy for about 15 to 20 minutes. So this is already in your blood. So after glycogen stores are used up in the body begins to break down fat. So that's why you need to at least have 15 to 20 minutes of exercise, or more than 15 to 20 minutes exercise to start burning fat, because you already have that stored energy in you, that glycogen that your body needs to burn before it burns the fat molecules. So all eukaryotes, that includes plants and animals, have mitochondria for cellular respiration. All prokaryotes, bacteria, have their electron transport chains or enzymes attached to their cell membranes. Because remember, prokaryotes are no membrane-bound organelles, but they still go through cellular respiration. And that's it for this chapter. After this, we need to go ahead and fill out the crossword. Try the best that you can to get all the answers done. And if you can't find some, it's okay, but get as many of them done as possible.